Okay, so I'm doing the frame chop mod. This is a pretty common mod on a Pioneer 500. This piece of frame used to stick like this. You go with the grinder and you cut off a triangle of it. You're left with this. Now, obviously, that does weaken the frame somewhat. You can see that the frame isn't very thick. There's already some rust in here. It wasn't coated super well. The Pioneer 500's got a wacky, goofy frame. So this piece is welded down here. It's a pretty big weld. So if you stop here, yes, you got the tire clearance, but number one, you weaken the frame a little bit because now this piece right here isn't really doing a whole lot. There's not a lot of support. And number two, you have a sharp edge to cut your tire on now. So you gotta cut a piece of steel, a similar thickness, and weld it in place of that. And then obviously the frame's not gonna wanna drain because it's gonna be closed up. So I like to go back a little ways and drill a few holes in the bottom here to let the frame drain. And then I'm gonna spray a bunch of rust prevention in there as well. This thing has been kind of ridden hard and put away wet most of its life, which is why I got a good deal on it. But you gotta try to maintain that kind of stuff where you can. But yeah, it's gonna get a bunch of welding all up in here. Yeah, frame chop, it's been done a million times. Yes, you can cut a bigger angle on here and get closer to the plastics to get a little more tire clearance in this area. I didn't want to weaken the frame too much. I have seen frames break in half right here when people cut all the way back here because you lose too much strength. So that's about as much as I wanted to do to get a little more steering angle. And I think once I weld a plate in here, I'm gonna have not lost any strength whatsoever. That's just my 2 cents. There's a better visual of how I did it. But yeah, do the same thing on both sides. So now I gotta break out the welder. All right, so there's the piece of steel I tapped in place to plug the hole. It actually came out okay for once. I don't have all that big of a gap to fill with the welder. Probably gonna grind this corner a little bit, get this sitting there a little more flush and fill in this gap, but it's gonna look pretty sharp, I think. All right, so just use my little Yes Welder flux core piece of shit. It's not beautiful, but it's welded on there. And I think it's gonna be just fine. I haven't grinded it yet. I just hit it with the wire wheel, wherever I put it. Hit it with the wire wheel. It's raining pretty good. Great welding conditions. But yeah, it's in there, and that added the strength that I lost by cutting that corner, I believe, in my unprofessional opinion as a mechanical engineer. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good. It's actually better than I usually do these. This weld's a little messed up in here, but I don't care enough to go over it. So yeah, good to go. Unfortunately, I can't see how much of a difference it makes on this side because I'm waiting on a new A-arm. So now we're gonna do the other side and we'll see how much extra clearance we get, because this side we can actually put a tire on. All right, frame chop is complete. Pretty happy with it considering I did it in about 30 minutes on both sides. I just threw some black paint on there. Welds look pretty decent, got good penetration. And now if I turn the tire, you can see that I can reach full lock. Tire's not rubbing anywhere. Granted, this is at full down travel, so once the tire comes up, it'll come out a little bit, so things might change slightly, but this thing doesn't have a lot of travel to begin with. So yeah, pretty happy with that result. Tucking at 28 with only 1-inch wheel spacer on a factory 5+2 wheel. Pretty cool. Didn't sacrifice any turning radius. Super easy mod on these if you have a grinder and a welder. If you don't, hit me up, I could help you out.